Hello YouTube, welcome to my vlog through June series experiment thing. This is week 2, it's June 8th, and I wanted to make sure I recorded an intro to this series. So this vlog will be through June 8th through the 14th, and I'll be taking you along on the things that I am reading. So I am gonna get ready to start an audiobook. I'm gonna listen to Hollywood Park, a memoir by Michael Jolette. And let me do something real quick. So I actually have an ARC of this, and it had been on my TBR for a little bit. I believe that it is about his time in Synanon, I think, which is kind of like part cult, part terrible psychotherapy. And Sex Cult Nun kind of just got me in the mood to read a little bit more about disturbing group atmospheres. So begins Hollywood Park, Michael Jolette's remarkable memoir. It starts in an experimental commune in California, which morphed into the notorious cult Synanon, and follows Jolette through childhood filled with poverty, emotional abuse, delinquency, and addiction. It is also a story of family, fierce love, and search for safe ground in a crazy and confusing world, told by a writer whose voice is heart-wrenchingly raw, poetic, and powerful. So yeah, I'm gonna read this. I have heard about Synanon before. I believe there's a documentary. It was on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it still is. I wish I could remember what it's called. AC just cut on. So there is a documentary on Amazon Prime, or it was at some point, about the Elan School, I believe, that touches on Synanon. And that's how I found out about this book, because I went down the Wikipedia rabbit hole. I can't remember what that documentary is called, or if it's still on Amazon, but that is why this book was on my TBR, and so I'm glad to be finally getting to it. Synanon kind of helped start the troubled teen industry, so it's all kind of connected. So I look forward to hearing his story. I don't know if I'll read along or if I'll just keep this on my shelves, but yeah, I'll be starting that. And I also need to do some editing on the video for next week. So I will check in when I have something to check in about. Okay, so I am reading Illuminae right now. I'm a little past the halfway point, and holy cow, I don't want to get into spoilers, but there are just so many plot lines going on, and they're all starting to converge right now, and I am just absolutely losing it. I honestly have no idea where this is headed, and I mean that in the best way possible. I am loving this, and I literally have no idea what to expect the end to be. Such a good book. I'm having such a good time reading this. Howdy, howdy, howdy. So I have DNF'd a book. I have DNF'd Hollywood Park by Michael Jolette, which I know I pronounced wrong in the last clip I talked about this. I really did not like the audiobook. There is way too much music in it that I just found irritating. Basically, at the end of every chapter there was music, and the fade-ins were too long, the fade-outs were too long. There was too much talking over the music that it just irritated me. And so I obviously have the physical book. I could read it that way and not deal with the things that are irritating in the audiobook, but I really don't like physically reading memoirs. I don't know what it is. I don't like reading memoirs. Listening to memoirs, great. But actually reading them is just not an enjoyable experience for me. Especially because I was finding the writing to be very repetitive. And I just wasn't like engaged with the story. The book starts with him leaving the cult as a child. So it's not the cult story I was anticipating. And it's not to say that the story isn't valuable, but it's just not what I was looking for, and I just wasn't enjoying it. The repetitiveness is like, it's on purpose. It's done with a purpose of like really highlighting how young and innocent and childlike he was. It's like basically being told as he is a child, so I assume it will get less childlike as the book goes on, and there will be less like purposeful misunderstandings of words. Like he will call a motorcycle a motocycle. There's just like little things that like a kid hears a big word and like understands it in a different way than what it actually is. And I don't know, I just wasn't enjoying it. So I'm gonna DNF it. I think honestly I'm probably just gonna go ahead and drop this off at a little free library because it is an ARC. And I don't foresee myself reading this. I really don't. It is what it is. I don't think it was bad. It's probably a very good book, an interesting memoir, but the combination of the way it's purposefully being written being just kind of irritating to me, and the audiobook not being enjoyable to me is just enough for me to DNF it and call it good. The other reason I'm DNFing is just because I have overstretched myself a little bit. I put Dead Silence on hold yesterday, and it had a 4-week wait, so I put it on hold hoping that I would get to read it at the end of the month, because I was really wanting to read it when I finished Illuminae, which I'm getting very close to finishing. I have 75 pages left. I will be finishing that very soon, but I wanted to read Dead Silence after that. And so I put it on hold expecting it to be a few days, and then it immediately checked out to me this morning, basically. So I checked it out instead of pushing it back a couple days. And I've already checked out Manhunt, which I've technically started, but I haven't read in a couple days just because I've been really zoned in on illuminae. So I have other books I need to read and want to read, whereas Hollywood Park is just like taking up time that I could be spent reading books I'm actually enjoying. So there's that. I'll check in when I finish Illuminae with my thoughts. It's still June 10th, obviously. It's like 1:30 or something, and I finished Illuminae. I had such a good time with this. Part of me wants to say like it's a 4.5 stars just because there were a little bit of issues. But I just had such a great time reading this, and it really truly got me out of my book slump. So I'm just gonna give it 5 stars without any caveats or half stars or anything like that. Like it was gonna get rounded up on Goodreads anyways, but I'm just gonna say 5 stars. I had so much fun reading this. I have mixed feelings about the end, and part of that is I'm unsure if I want to continue the series because I have heard mixed things about the rest of the series, but I am curious what is going on with biotech. So I'm curious about it, but also at the same time I think I'm like actually kind of happy with how contained in theory this is, if I just ignore the like little tiny bit of cliffhanger at the end to like make you want to read book 2. If I ignore that, this feels like a contained story that I think I could be happy just leaving it here. So So I'm uncertain, because I also feel like maybe books 2 and 3 are like not that great, but I might still have a lot of fun reading it, just like I had so much fun reading Illuminae. So I'm probably gonna do some more like researching, read some reviews, see if I can find some people talking about it on YouTube and see what their thoughts are, because Kayla just read the last one, Obsidio, is that the third one, or is Gemina the third one? Whatever one is the third one, she just read, and her opinion was she thought book 2 was okay, knowing it was the second book in a trilogy, but having read the third book, she wasn't super satisfied with book 3, which then in turn kind of made book 2 a waste of time, and suggested you would be fine just reading the first book on its own. But I'm going to look for some other opinions that people have. I know there was also some like hype, like people really liked illuminae and were kind of let down by the last 2 books just because there was so much hype around illuminae. So maybe some of the negative feelings are just like based in the hype and not necessarily the book, whereas I didn't have the hype and I didn't have the wait. I'm reading this years after it was published. So I don't know, I'm going back and forth on whether I want to continue the series or not. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think I've read anything else with like an AI character. I was trying to think. So I'm uncertain if like just this particular AI character wasn't my favorite, or maybe I don't like AI characters in general. I'm unsure. I mean, I didn't hate the AI. The AI is very important in the story. And I understand like the parts that kind of irritated me, like now having finished the book, I get why they were there and they're meant to build this story. But you know, I think there were some AI parts that really like slowed down for me. But I mean, obviously not that much, because I read this in like 4 days or something, 4 or 5 days. Like I read this really quickly. So it's not like I was struggling with the AI parts or, struggling to get through the book in any capacity. It was just parts I liked a little bit less than the rest of it. There were definitely parts at the end that I don't know how I feel, didn't necessarily love. Obviously can't get into it because I don't want to spoil the book for you. There are just parts that I had mixed feelings about. But overall just had a really great time. I am so grateful for this book to like get me excited about reading. I just had such a good time reading it. I love stuff like this. I love books of documents. Mixed media, is that what this is called? I don't know. Anyways, I love it. Had a great time. 5 stars. Recommend. I definitely don't read a lot of space stuff, so in the beginning I was like, I'm surprised I'm really into this, because I mean, it was a little bit like space battle parts in here, and I was just like, I can't believe I'm vibing with this so hard. But I loved it. I didn't even give a summary. I don't even know what I would give as the summary, because there are so many different bits and pieces that I would be like reading a section, I'm like, oh, I understand what's coming, and then like another plot thread would come in and I'm like, oh, that's what this is going to be about, and I expect it to go that way, and then it goes back to the first part. And I like forget about these plot lines, and then they somehow just came together so wonderfully. It was just a masterpiece. That's maybe an exaggeration, but like it was really well done, how all the threads came together. Anyways, I had a really great time. I wouldn't even know how to begin describing this for you, but teens and space and fighting and AIs and all sorts of stuff, and it doesn't seem like something like on the surface that I thought I would like, but I was just interested in the mixed media formatting thing, and I ended up loving it. So yeah, had a great time. It's still June 10th. I need to do some video editing for Monday's video, but in between, on breaks while doing that, I'm going to read Manhunt, I'm trying to catch up. I didn't read any of it yesterday, so I have 2 days worth of pages I need to catch up on. I'm not liking it. There are definitely some interesting things going on I'm intrigued by. I find the characters to be interesting. I just find the writing of it to be a little odd. It doesn't switch perspective necessarily, but like it goes between talking about the different characters in a way that I find disorienting. So like a lot of times I just like lose track of who is being talked about, and I have to go back and figure out who's being talked about. But overall, I'm like 15% in, so not very far, like 50-ish pages. It's definitely already kind of gross, which I think I heard that it's I think it was described as splatterpunk. I don't necessarily know what that means, but so far I'm like, oh, okay, I think maybe I get what splatterpunk is. Maybe, I don't know. It's definitely not graphic, it's just like kind of gross, but not in like a bad way. The only thing I really had a problem with was there was some dentistry that went on that I actually had to like skip past, because I absolutely just cannot deal with at-home dentistry tooth stuff. I remember Castaway, the scene being traumatizing, but like painful to even think about, to hear. So I definitely had to like skip it. Basically, like I read almost none of it when I knew what was happening. I was like, I'm gonna not read this. But otherwise, like the grossness isn't bad. It's something I enjoy. Like I said, I like the like body horror stuff. So like gross stuff is kind of what I enjoy in these books. But yeah, the dentistry stuff, not so much. So I'm gonna do a little bit of editing, and then that's gonna be my afternoon. I'll just keep reading. Good morning. It is June 13th, and I'm just doing a little update because I'm not actually sure I'm gonna finish another book this week, because I DNF'd Hollywood Park, so that seemed the most likely book I would finish this week, just because it's an audiobook and I tend to listen to those pretty quickly compared to like actually physically reading. And I'm in the middle of 2 books right now, but I'm not close to finishing either. So it seems unlikely I will finish another book this week. But I did want to talk a little bit about the 2 books I'm currently reading. So I am reading Manhunt, which is fine. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up on my phone. So I'm reading Manhunt right now, which is okay. I'm reading the bare minimum amount of pages I need to finish it by the end of my library loan, so I'm only reading like 16 pages. This is a story about a disease that has affected men specifically, but the characters are all trans. So there are 2 trans women, and so it's about what they have to do to prevent themselves from getting this disease. But there is also TERFs, cis women who are like anti-trans, and so there's this tension between them. And then there is a trans man character that I don't fully know what their deal is yet. But it's just like following them in this like kind of post-apocalyptic world. Like I said, it's fine, but it's definitely gory, which I talked about, but it's also incredibly sexual, which I was not expecting. So that's part of the reason I'm not like just flying through it, because I can only take like it in little doses. I'm enjoying it, but I can't just like sit down and read it for long stretches. Anyways, so like the sexual stuff is just like not my cup of tea. It's not bad. I just kind of like skim past it, to be quite honest. But I'm intrigued to see where this story is going. It has a lot of things that I enjoy. I DNF'd Detransition Baby, so I was looking for another trans narrative to read, and this came at like the perfect time because it's also, I don't know if I would classify it as horror necessarily, but I guess it could be put in that category. So, you know, I was looking for horror. Here's a trans story, you know, marrying things that I like. I love a dystopian story, so there's that in there too. I kind of seem to enjoy like a pandemic sort of dystopia. So, you know, it's got a lot of things I'm enjoying. I just have to kind of skim past the like sex scenes that seem to happen in like every chapter. Anyways, the other book I'm reading is Dead Silence. I decided to read this because I kept thinking about it while I was reading Illuminae. Because Dead Silence is about a lost space cruise ship that gets found 20 years later. And so while I was reading Illuminae, I was like, oh, I really want to read Dead Silence. Ooh, I really want to read Dead Silence. So I'm reading Dead Silence and I am really enjoying it. This is the book that I am like really sitting down and reading. So, you know, the first book of the day that I read is Manhunt, and I make sure I get the bare minimum pages I need to get in. And then I just spend the rest of the day reading Dead Silence. I'm still not very far in because I just started it a couple days ago. 1, 2, 3. I started it on the 10th, so like 4 days ago. But I'm a quarter in. So like, I don't think I'm gonna finish it between today and tomorrow. But I am enjoying it. I am like 100 pages in, having a good time. I didn't think I really liked space stuff so much, but I'm really enjoying a little bit of space. I liked The Martian, but like I don't really want to get into like Star Wars style sci-fi where it's just like space wars and stuff. But like Illuminae really worked for me, where it's like a mystery on a ship in space. This is kind of a mystery on a ship in space. Granted, they're going back and forth, so like the stuff that's happening on the lost ship is the past, and then it is flashing forward to now, where the main character is kind of explaining what happened on the ship. And so we're getting these two narratives because it's foreshadowing that something very bad happened on the ship. I don't know, I'm just really enjoying it. I don't know if there are other books that will like scratch the itch that Dead Silence has like put in me, where I'm like, ooh, that's actually kind of good. I haven't read as much horror as I was anticipating this month, but I am reading good books, so you know, I can't be too mad about it. I do think Dead Silence is supposed to get creepier, weirder as this goes on, so we'll see what happens when I get into like the 50% mark, but I haven't quite got there yet. Like, I'm enjoying it. The atmosphere is like good. There's definitely a lot of like, the tension is being ratcheted up where I'm like, ooh, what's happening? What's going on? What happened on this ship? So like, there's a lot of potential for shit to really go off the deep end in a good way. So we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to check in just because it seems very unlikely I'm going to finish a book in the next 48 hours. But we'll see. We'll see. Part of the issue is I have found a new podcast that I am just like, that's all I want to do is listen to this podcast and consume all the back catalog. And it's like a very long podcast. So that's what I've been doing instead of reading. But yeah, I will maybe see you in another clip. Otherwise, I'll see you in the outro. Bye. Good morning. It is June 14th. This is probably my last check-in for this vlog. I still haven't finished a book. But I just had some thoughts about Dead Silence. So I was reading it last night, and there's one thing that I'm finding very weird. So there's this missing ship, this space cruiser that's supposed to be like a cruise ship. And the way they talk about it is so bizarre to me because they have found the ship, they're on the ship, and it disappeared 20 years ago. But then they act like they're so far in the future, so she had to use a key to get into, like a physical key to get into the locked rooms. And she's like, oh, this is so weird. I can't, I've never used a key like this before. But she was a kid who was obsessed with this ship when it launched. So she like knows all about the captain, because she was like obsessed with it, and she remembers the golden faucets that were on this ship, but she never used a key before. And there's just like all these little like the timing is weird to me, because they act like it's been a generation, but it's only been 20 years, and she was like a kid. I can't remember if they actually said an age or not. I'm like imagining like 10ish if she like is learning all about the captain of the ship. So I don't know, I just find that weird because like it really is just like they act like it's been like this very long time. They can't imagine the weird old ways they did stuff. And maybe that makes sense for some of the younger crew members, but like she's not actually that old, and it hasn't actually been that long of a time ago. Like I imagine her like being my age. I'm gonna be 30 this summer. And there are different things between now and 2002, but like I don't know, like I'm not completely blown away by like the famous people from 20 years ago. I don't know. It's just weird. I should have come with like more examples, but I just find that weird. I'm still really enjoying it, but sometimes it just gets, they'll say something and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you acting like this is the weirdest thing on Earth? Well, not on Earth, in space. The weirdest thing in space. I don't know. And maybe I'm supposed to infer from this that like maybe stuff has like really accelerated, technological advances. I get a vibe that maybe there's like climate change stuff that has happened, because they were talking about like how weird some of the people were like really blown away by like real wood in the ship. So like maybe there's a climate change thing to this, and maybe they really had to like, ooh, thunder. It's still going. Anyways, so maybe like they were forced to like really accelerate technological advances and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I just find it weird sometimes. So this is probably my last check-in, because I'm 50% through with Dead Silence, which it's like 300 and some odd pages. So, I'm like 170 something pages in, I think. And Manhunt is just plodding along. I'm definitely not going to finish that, even though it's shorter. It's less than 300 pages. I just can't read a lot of it at one go. So that's probably my last check-in. You'll see me with some sort of outro. Bye. Hello. It's still June 14th. It's like 9 o'clock at night or something. I don't know. I have 100 pages left in Dead Silence. Oh my god, I just like completely forgot the name of the book. I have 100 pages left in Dead Silence. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do one extra day for this particular vlog, because I should be able to finish it tomorrow. I'm still reading. I've kind of figured out a way that works for me. So the podcast I've been binging has like commercial breaks in the middle, and so I've been stopping at those commercial breaks and reading for a little bit, and then between every episode I'm reading a little bit, and I'm managing to just truck along that way. So I'll probably read some more tonight. I don't know, I'll probably get down to 90-ish pages left, probably, I would think, before bed tonight, and then I will finish it tomorrow. I think I should be more than capable of doing that. More than capable of putting my podcast on hold for a little bit tomorrow so I can finish the book, and then I will check in and close out this vlog. So I will see y'all tomorrow. Hi, it is the last check-in for this vlog. It is technically June 15th, but as I said, I was gonna do final thoughts on Dead Silence since I started it in this vlog, and I was just updating you through this whole thing, so it made more sense to include it in this vlog than in the next vlog. Anyways, so I finished Dead Silence. 3 stars. I think the last time I updated you, I said I was still having a good time, and I was enjoying the tension that was being ratcheted up, but somewhere around 50%, I think, I just started not enjoying it as much. Like, I wasn't super blown away by the writing while reading, but the concept was interesting enough that it didn't bother me. It's not like it was terrible writing, but it just was like nothing spectacular necessarily. And the back half, when like the plot wasn't as engaging to me personally, the writing really started to grate me. So at some point, the past narrative and the now narrative meet. And once that happens, I really did not enjoy it very much. I can't really talk too much about this without like getting into spoilers. So like the cover says this is like a haunted house in space, and I think that's pretty accurate. I can be pretty hit or miss with like haunted house ghost stuff. I have liked stuff like that in the past, but I tend to prefer like gothic haunted house stuff, and this is not that. And so like the reveal of like what was happening on the ship, just I didn't like. I mean, I don't know what to say. I just didn't. And how Claire's mental what is the word I'm looking for? Her mental capacity is what I'm reaching for, but that's not what it is. Her mental like headspace, where she is mentally, her mental health, how that fits into the narrative of the ship, I just like didn't like that much. I don't know, I just didn't like the reveal. And there was a point where like we were really getting into like a battle right before the end of the book, and I just like couldn't even understand or keep track of what was going on. And I thought I understood what was going on, and then something would happen and I was like, oh, that didn't, and I have to go reread it and like try and figure out like where they were. I don't know, that's probably a me issue versus like a book issue. But I don't know. So like the beginning, like the 40% was like 4 stars. I was really enjoying it, and then it just kind of steadily trended down to a 3 star. I don't know. I just didn't love it. Yeah, I don't know if I have really much else to say, so I'm gonna close out the vlog. I read 2 books this month, or this week. Illuminae and Dead Silence, 2 space books. Illuminae was great. Dead Silence ended up being kind of a letdown. But it is what it is. They can't all be bangers. But yeah, there's that. I did buy a book this week, but I am going to talk about it in next week's vlog because I'll probably read it next week. I am still working on Manhunt. I am hoping I can finish that next week. My plan is to read Manhunt the rest of today, and then I will start a new book tomorrow probably. So try to get some pages in on Manhunt while I don't have any other books to read. I'm still hoping, holding out hope that Saruman will check out to me at some point here in the near future, because I would like to still read that this month. I really haven't read that much spooky stuff. I said June was going to be my summer spook month, and then I have read nothing spooky. Did I read any horror this month? No, I haven't finished a single horror book this month. So maybe I'll start a horror book next week too, if Saruman doesn't check out to me. I guess we'll see what happens with that. Apparently it's space June. Let's go to space summer. Anyways, overall, I mean, I read less than I did last week, but I'm still, I checked Goodreads and I'm like 27 books ahead of schedule. So like I've read almost 70 books this year already, which is just absolutely wild. So 2 books this week, that's good. That's fine with me. You know, I haven't been working on an audiobook, which usually kind of helps bolster my numbers a little bit. And even if I did have an audiobook, I wouldn't be listening to it as much because I am currently binging 5 to 4, the podcast. So like I would be spending my time listening to a podcast anyways. So, you know, 2 books is perfectly fine with me. I'm not upset. And that will be the end of this vlog. I will see you next week. Bye.